Hello everyone, welcome to today's video. So today we will talk about how to approach JEE advanced type questions. In a previous video we have seen how to approach JEE mains type questions. So I have taken a few questions, selected questions from JEE advanced, which you can understand how to approach. And since these are tougher than JEE mains, at least theoretically, so we are going to see कैसे हम इनको जल्दी कर सकते हैं, how to think through the lines. Okay, so let's start with it. Let's start with the first question. तो यहाँ पे आपको दिखेगा ये J Advanced 2022 paper 1 and you're given an integration and which is equals to 1 and there is a parameter a and you're asked which of the following statements is are true, and there were some statements. I have not included them because that is not important for this question. What we need to understand is ये जो equation दिया गया है, it's an integration equation, right? There is an integration on the left hand side and there is a one on the right hand side, and you're given some bounds on a. Okay. Now, the first thing, जब भी मैं integration पढ़ाता हूँ, what I usually say is if you have an integration, always think about properties and substitutions. Now, you can directly say it's not an even odd function. You can apply 1 plus e minus x transformation, which is the King's property. Still कुछ नहीं हो रहा. If properties don't work, you go to substitutions. What substitution? The first thing is you look for substitutions which you do not like. Like if you have a term called root over sine x inside the integral and you think that this is the problematic term, you substitute sine x as t squared. You basically substitute off everything you see as problematic. But in this question, always look for substitutions which have the derivatives present. So if I were to look at this a minus log x to the power 3 by 2 and then whole square, whatever this is, if I look for this substitution, a minus ln x to the power 3 by 2, do not try to calculate it mentally because you need to be able to get it precisely, which is why if you are not comfortable mentally doing it, do it on paper, take your 30 seconds or 20 seconds, but do it because that would actually give you the answer. You see? क्योंकि ये जो सब्स्टिट्यूशन है जैसे ही आप करते हो इसको you simply get dy equals to, so a is 0, right? And then this one, what happens? It simply becomes minus 3 by 2 into ln x to the power half. And then you also have a 1 by x. Do you see that ln x to the power half by x ये already present है यहाँ पे with the dx? This means that ये substitution करके I can directly change this whole thing into a 1 by t square form. So this is what I'm saying. If you're comfortable in chain rule, if you understand the chain rule so well, immediately when you see this expression, you see this integration, you will immediately notice कि अच्छा I have to substitute this up because I already see the derivative present. Question is done. It's a one-liner. But for that to happen, you have to have a solid and firm grip over chain rule, which means ये substitution करके क्या आएगा, limits क्या आएंगे फिर. तो what I can say about the limits, ln 1 क्या हो जाएगा 0, तो नीचे लिमिट आ जाएगा 1 and ln e क्या हो जाएगा a minus 1, ऐसा आ जाएगा. And then this whole thing is basically minus 2 by 3 dy, so minus 2 by 3 dy, and then नीचे आ जाएगा आपका 1 by y square. And now you see कि this is nothing but 2 by 3 a minus 1 to a and then dy by y square equals to 1. And now you can see कि dy by y square का आता है minus 1 by y. You can simply get a quadratic solution for a and all the options could be found out easily from that. So this is something you have to keep in mind. In order to crack questions from the JEE Advanced, आपको you have to be very very comfortable in all the basics. They will not ask you difficult questions, they will ask you questions that require basics. Let's go to the next one. Let L1 L100 all the way up to this be consecutive terms of an arithmetic progression with common difference d1, and let W1 to W100 be consecutive terms of another arithmetic progression with common difference d2. Correct? Now you have to understand कि we are given d1 d2 10, and then they are also saying कि ri be a rectangle with length li and with wi, which are basically terms of this first and second arithmetic progression, and area ai, and then they are given then they have given like some expression involving area, and you have to find a100 minus a90. Correct? So start with this, a51 minus a50 equals to 1000. That is the only real information given, along with the fact d1 d2 is 10, which means these are the two expressions we have to work with, right? Now, what is the area of a rectangle? Just do not hesitate to start the question. Always keep starting the question from whichever point you think is the best, and then write down every expression that follows it. This is very important because A51 is nothing but L51 into W51 minus L50 into W50, which is 1000. Okay. This means that L51 kitna hoga? You know ki L51 should be L1 plus 50D1, and similarly W1 plus 50D1, D2, sorry. Uh, and then it's equals to kitna? This is like L1 W, L51 W51, and now we have L50 W50 as well, which is L1 plus 49 D1 and W1 plus 49 D2. Okay, and this is equals to 1000. Okay, I will just solve this part so that we get an idea of what we are doing, which this gives you basically L1 W1, and then you have some 50 squared D1 D2, and then you have 50 D1 W1 and 50 D2 L1. So basically you have 50 D1 W1 and 50 D2 L1, minus again you have L1 W1, minus you have 49 square D1 D2, right? And again you have minus 49 D1 W1 minus 49 D2 L1, and this is equals to 1000. You see, these terms will cancel off a lot, and 50 and this and 50 and this will cancel off, and you would be, I think, left with 50 square minus 49 square, which is 99 D1 D2, and then these two terms will become one, because which is basically D1 W1 plus D2 L1 equals to 1000. Okay. Now, when you put in the value for A100 and A90, things are going to be somewhat the same. This expression, which you have just found out, is going to be helpful because D1, D2 you already know is 10, correct? And since you know the value of D1, D2, this expression is nothing but this becomes D1, D2 is 10 means 990. This cancels off with this to become 10, which means you simply have D1, W1 plus D2, L1 equals to 10. Again, D1, D2 is also 10. Use that fact as well. And when you substitute this, you will again get a similar expression of this type, right? Just with a 10 common. Because here you see it was 50 and 49. The difference was 1. So you got one coefficient. When you subtract it with the coefficient difference of 10 in terms, you will get something like 10 times this, which will be your final answer again. So this is easy because once you know this value, you can represent this value in terms of the initial value. So can you notice it from the beginning itself? Maybe, but for this to happen, you have to have a very, very advanced knowledge and very a good amount of practice in this kind of linear equations, this type of linear operators, where you see कि this sequences इनको आप जैसे ही आप कंजर्वेटिव टर्म्स लेते हो या फिर एक कॉमन डिफरेंस में लेते हो एपीज को or product of APs co, then they actually produce results which are similar to the same. Like A2 minus A1 will produce a similar result to A5 minus A4 in some ways. So this you have to understand. Okay. So once you start doing the problem, it will become easier. So do not hesitate to start it. Let's go to the next one. Okay, a similar kind of problem. A1, A2, A3, B arithmetic progressions. And now again we have A1 is 7, A and the common difference is 8. T1, T2, T3 be such that T1 is 3, Tn plus 1 minus Tn is An, then which of the following is true? जब भी आपको इस तरीके के इक्वेशंस आ जाए Tn plus 1 minus Tn equals to An, and they're saying this is true for all n greater than 1, where n is an A is an AP, है ना? So AK is an AP, which means ऐसे equations को you have to use the summation operator. So first let me rewrite this in terms of K, which is also true, right? Tk plus 1 minus Tk should be AK. And this is also true for all k greater than equal to 1. Now, if you sum, so I'm just going to show you how to find out the general term right now. So this is true for all 1, right? So let's do k equals to 1 to n. For any positive integer n which is greater than 1, this will give you tk plus 1 minus tk. इसके ऊपर sum और right hand side में भी k equals to 1 to n ak. Now, what is the value of this? We know कि इसका value हो जाएगा n by 2, 4 into 7, which is the first term, plus, and now, the last term क्या होगा? Last term होगा 7 plus n minus 1 into d is 8. Okay. So, from this, and on the left hand side, I have taught you before, this is called a telescopic series, है ना? So, इसमें क्या होगा? फर्स्ट आप जो ये k इक्वल्स टू 1 टू एन टी के प्लस 1, इनको आप अलग अलग समीशंस के तरह लिख सकते हो, एंड द फर्स्ट वन वुड सिंपली गिव यू t2 से लेके tn प्लस 1 तक, एंड द सेकंड टर्म tk वाला सम माइनस के बाद अंदर ब्रैकेट में विल गिव यू सिंपली t1 से लेके tn तक, और अंदर क्या होगा? n by 2, 14 plus 8 whole into 8n minus 8. And now if you simplify this, you simply get, so T2 and all, basically this minus T1 will remain and this plus Tn plus 1 will remain, right? So Tn plus 1, and we know the value of T1 is 3. So Tn plus 1 minus 3 should be equals to n by 2, और ये हो गया 6 plus 8n, और जिसको आप 2 से काट दो तो ये बन जाएगा 3 plus 4n, है ना? And therefore Tn plus 1 is nothing but 3 plus 3n plus 4n square. अब इसको n बनाने के लिए you can simply write Tn is equals to 3 plus 3 into n minus 1 plus 4 into n minus 1 whole square. Isn't it sufficient to get all your answers? क्योंकि इससे you can check all the four options, and this was only 2 to 3 steps to find out what was Tn in general for any n. अब यहाँ से you can find out all the answers, right? So approaching questions को approach करने के लिए you need to understand all the basics, which I'm stressing upon every time, कि you have to understand these basic things, right? Okay. Again, ये वाला question, let a equals to 1967 plus 1686 I sin theta by 7 minus 3 I cos theta. ठीक है, theta अगर r है, if a contains exactly one positive integer, the value of n is, now again, this means कि ये expression for some value of theta becomes an integer. 1967 plus 1686 I sin theta by 7 minus 3i cos theta becomes an integer. What is my first thought when I see this question? Well, I see 7, I see 3, I see ki, okay, this is going to be an integer, which means things are going to cancel off from the numerator and denominator, and integer will remain. That has to be the case for some value of theta. I just don't know which value of theta. Which means, may I try dividing it by 7 and dividing it by 3? Okay, let's see. So when I divide 1967 by 7, we simply get this. We get 7 into 281. Nice. But this does not divide by 7. But does it divide by 281? When you do that, you simply see कि this is nothing but 281.6, because subtracting 280 from 1 from this already gives you this. Which means take 281 common, and your answer right now is something like this. Sin theta by 7 minus 3i cos theta. And they're saying there is exactly one integer n. There is exactly one positive integer n for which this happens. So how can I find this? There is obviously the simpler way is just you have to just 7 minus 3i cos theta का conjugate ऊपर नीचे multiply करो, and then set the imaginary part equals to 0, because you know this is going to be a real number. Well, that is the naive way. Why would I do that? Because I need these two terms to vanish. So what I can do is I can write 7 plus 6i sin theta. ये जो चीज है, I somehow need this as a multiple. I somehow need this as a multiple of this term, right? So can I get any value for which this thing happens? Like, can I get any value for which this whole thing becomes equal to each other? So yeah, I can understand that, okay, if sine theta and this cos theta, they, like, you can see minus 3i cos theta and there is a 6i sine theta, which means if cos theta becomes minus 2 sine theta. So if this is something which happens, then we will have the answer. And this is obviously true, because this will give you, I think, tan theta equals to minus half, right? And they have said only exactly one positive integer is there, which means if I can guess the value, which is this, that means that is the answer. That it has to be the answer, because if tan theta is minus half, then the answer is 281, right? Then the answer is 281, which means I have succeeded in finding the integer, which is 281 is the answer. Because if you get any one value, that value has to be the your answer. Because they've said a contains exactly one positive integer, then the value of n is what? There are no two integers. Which means if I can make cos theta as minus 2 sine theta, which means both of them become 7 plus 6i sine theta, they cancel off. Answer is 281, which means that must be the answer. And from that, I can understand, okay, tan theta equals to minus half, which means theta is real. Obviously, this exists. There is a value of theta which satisfies this. Thus, you got the answer 281. So think it through because it's an MCQ type paper. You do not really have to do it subjectively. It is unlike any ISI or CMI papers. So you do not have to explain anything. That's the beauty of JE right now. Like if looking from the mathematical point of view, I would say that is the most advantage you can get in JE. You do not have to explain, and you can take this crooked paths to get to the answer. Okay, so that would be it for the video. Also, do check out the new app, which is the link is in the description. If you like it, you may also check out the courses and stuff. And I would also provide a lot of free test series, and I would try to come live on YouTube very soon for the rest of the days to brush up the basics and foundations for JE mains, which is going to come in January attempt. Revise all the chapters, especially coordinate and vector. So thank you for watching. If you're new to the channel, please do subscribe. And if there is any query, let me know either through my Instagram or through the app. Thank you.